You've highlighted a critical gap in leadership training in inside businesses. Can you tell us a little bit how this gap manifests itself and on both the leadership and the teams?
Yes, yes. So, in my opinion, there's a gap that starts typically upon employment. I would say, from the standpoint of we hire people to come from a different company, and because they have the name manager in their title, we assume that they've been adequately trained when it comes to caring for, leading, and guiding the workforce, and that is not necessarily true. And so uh, they show up and they come and they start leading our people, and we don't know if they have the fundamental skills necessary to lead people. Now, that's just considering people who come from the outside. And then we have the second piece of most organizations promote the best individual contributor
Yeah, yeah.
into the leader position, right? But those skills don't necessarily transfer. They may not be the same skills, so they expect that person to clone everybody else to be like them, and it just doesn't happen that way. And I saw another study. It was in Forbes magazine, I believe, and it said something like 90% of individuals who are in managerial positions feel like they were not adequately prepared for the job that they have of leading and caring for the people. And it's a strange question. I like to ask people when I'm giving my keynote. I like to ask the question of, do you believe that our people are our most valuable asset? And almost every hand goes up. And so I asked the rhetorical question of, okay, so it looks like we all agree on that. So if that is the case, tell me why it is that we don't prepare our leaders with the skills necessary to care for, to lead, and to guide our employees prior to putting them into a leadership position where they're responsible for doing exactly that. And nobody, of course, nobody has an answer for that. But my objective is to just stir up those juices so I can say, stop waiting for somebody else to do it. Do it yourself. You as an individual, you should take the initiative and be intentional about your own growth, your own leadership IQ, so that you will be prepared to care for and to lead and to direct the people for which you're responsible for.
Yeah. So, Doug, this is a really interesting one, and I can definitely relate to this. Right. So, it was last year sometime, ran a webinar series and invited heads of HR and learning and development folks, and I had representatives. I was quite surprised. There's about 450 odd companies from around the world, and they're not small. They're all
Yeah.
500 or 1,000 employees or more. And I remember on that webinar, I said, if I was to put the question out there and say, put your hand up if you are confident, or you can say with confidence that when it comes to the fundamentals of leadership and management, our people know what they're doing. And not one person in that whole thing.
Out of 450,
Yeah.
that's an indictment of the real situation.
Right. And so it's like, well, if you can't answer that question, do our people know what they should be doing? That's a bit of an issue, especially because by sheer weight of numbers,
Yeah.
they manage the largest percentage of the employee population. So this to me is
So it's a middle management line that's not really
I think
prepared
it's
for
I think it's
leadership.
the front line,
The front line.
and I think it's the front line and middle managers.
Yeah.
I think once people start to get to that executive level, there's a lot more familiarity with this, and probably there's more money put to this. And so this kind of leads into a question I wanted to ask you, Keith, because obviously you work with a very large organization, in your day job, but you're also coaching and out there seeing all kinds of people. Why is it that those fundamentals are not sort of promoted as the must-do thing from, let's say, the talent management teams and HR or people teams? Why do the fundamentals get overlooked?
Well, in my theory, my theory is that it seems as though we like to chase the shiny objects. I think that's one of the primary reasons it gets overlooked. As the new concept comes up, we run out and we chase that. So when companies do provide leadership training, it's usually some product or some system that's kind of cutting edge. It's not the fundamentals. I think one of the other issues is the lack of, let's say, an assessment vehicle. And this is where I really think there's room for substantial improvement when it comes to developing our leaders. I think that leaders should be assessed when they arrive at your company. When they come, we should do some type of assessment to see where they are when it comes to just general fundamentals of leadership, so that we know that they have the fundamentals down. Do they understand goal setting? Are they clear about what they want? Do they have the right mindset to be a leader in our organization? All this helps to build culture as well. Do they understand the vision of the company? Do they have a vision? Are they self-aware? That's another very important thing about being a leader, being self-aware, understanding your own emotions and how you impact other people. Communication skills. Warren Buffett says that there's two things that every leader should do if they want to be successful. And those two most important things are, one is to be able to speak in public, and two, to be able to communicate in general. But when I speak to people, when I'm coaching people, and I ask them, do you have a process for communication? Because communication is one of the most important things that you can learn as an individual and as a leader. And most people say, well, I communicate well, but they don't have a process, and so do they understand how to communicate well? And I provide them with a process so that they can make sure that they are communicating effectively, both in individual conversations and in meetings and things of that nature. And then lastly, relationship building type skills. They should assess them to see where they are so that they can provide them, close the gap with whatever training is needed so that they can at least have the fundamentals down when it comes to leadership.
That's awesome, Keith. I know that we share a common love of DISC and behavior, but it's a powerful tool for leadership. For the audience today, would you unpack how you can use DISC to work with leaders and build leaders?
Okay, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. I love DISC. Let me start with
Amen, brother.
DISC is amazing. I use DISC to help people understand their behavior style. So for leaders, it's important for you to understand your style and the style of others. Once again, I mentioned communication is important. DISC is a communication tool. It helps you understand your behavior styles so that you can understand how you react in various situations. And once you have awareness, then you can make whatever adjustments are necessary to deal with whatever situations you're dealing with. And then the other great thing about DISC is that once you have not only learned your style, you can learn to assess the style of others and understand how they want to receive information, and that can improve communication. But let me back up just a little bit. DISC is a proven behavior style system, basically, where you take an assessment and it helps you to determine your style. There's 4 different styles: direct, intuitive, or influential, steadiness, and correct or conscientiousness. And those 4 styles dictate how you respond in various situations. And understanding your own style helps you to make adjustments in how you interact with people. Now, we all grew up knowing what's called the golden rule, right? And I think we all know that is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's a great rule. But this teaches the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated, which is a little different. And when you understand DISC, you can identify how people want to receive communication. You can identify how people are motivated, what they're motivated by. You can identify what turns them off or what makes them upset, and what causes them to be uneasy and what causes them to be stressed. So these are skills that you can develop that will improve your communication and effectively cause you to become a better leader and communicator.
Thank you so much, Keith. I always say to the businesses that we work with, they're leaving money on the boardroom table if they don't have a common literacy of DISC in their business. They need, in their CRMs, they should open up a customized field for their prospects and their clients. Even if you can't send an assessment link to your clients, but you can, if you've got a good understanding, whether they're a big C, little s, or, big I, small d, you've got a good idea. And we try and make our clients have that literacy and that understanding. And it's a tool that you can use in resolving conflict, closing deals. It's just got so many applications, and it really needs to be used by more companies, I think.
Yeah, Doug is a massive, massive fan of DISC.
We should just refer to DISC all the time, as much as you refer to your brand promise and your values and your purpose when you praise and you admonish your team, and hire and fire with equal amounts. Use large dollops of DISC when you... Yeah.
So, Keith, we're kind of coming to the end now. So in terms of just wrapping on this a little bit, and, thank you, obviously, for taking the time. If people are watching this and thinking, okay, this all sounds good, but where do I start? What's some stuff I need to do? Can you give the guys, and I know after this, Doug, you would probably ask about the books and stuff. He always loves to ask what people are reading. But so where should people start? Yeah,
great question. Great timing as well. I would say start with an assessment, because understanding where you are is a great place to start. So doing a DISC assessment is a great thing to do. There are others out there as well. Myers-Briggs. I prefer DISC because it's more simple. It's easier to understand. There's Strength Finders. There's several different types of assessments, but start with an assessment, understand where you are. And then also that's going to lead you to the next step of, here's where I am. Am I happy with that? Where do I want to go? Then start putting some time into thinking about what you want for your life. So as I mentioned, that's where most people struggle. They don't take the time to stop and think about what success looks like, or how do I define success for my life and my career. So actually take some time and identify what that means to you, and then create a plan, what I would call a personal development plan, to develop the skills and take the actions and behaviors necessary to move you from where you are to where you want to go.
Right.
And document that, write it down, and then follow up on it regularly.
So that all sort of, to me, falls under that banner of being intentional.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before I ask Keith about the books and what you're reading, what you'd recommend for our audience today, and I know we're really short of time, just a few, what would be the top few checklist pointers for leaders that really want to grow out their leadership skills? Just the 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Once again, I stick to fundamentals. Communication is definitely a very important thing. I remember seeing a survey where when you ask individuals, do they feel like they're good communicators? The majority of people say yes. But when you look at other statistics, it shows that communication is the primary problem in business and in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So that he says that we all need to continue working on our communication skills because those problems, are still happening. And I study communication, and my wife and I, we still have communication problems. Every once in a while. I'm talking about one thing and she's on the conversation we had, we talked about, 20 minutes ago. And so part of that, I've developed my own framework for making sure that you start your conversation with purpose and that helps you to be more effective in your communication. But that's the main one. So purpose, communication, and then doing some kind of assessment. One of the problems to me is that people don't know what they want. So an assessment helps people to get clear about what they want. So do an assessment, work on communication, get clear about what you want.
Yeah. And I think that to me goes to the whole development is an individualized thing, right? It's not a paint by numbers approach.
No.
So you need to understand the individual circumstances before you can put a plan together.
That's why Keith is talking about the assessment is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So not just your what the books you're reading now, Keith, but what are your name the top few books that have really influenced your philosophy around leadership and leadership coaching. I'm talking books that our audience would perhaps like to pop onto Amazon or go down to the secondhand bookshop and have a browse around for.
Absolutely, great question. I'm gonna share with you my favorite books. They're not necessarily new books, believe it or not. My favorite book is. One of my favorite books is See You at the Top. That's by Zig Ziglar. And Zig came out with that book in 1984. And that's one of the first personal development books I read. And it gave me, you read a book, you take away certain things from it, but he had two concepts that have been part of, my personal philosophy all my life. The first one was give an hour a day to you and your career. So I would spend an hour a day making sure that I'm either working to develop something to improve my work-related skills or doing something to help improve me as a person. I've done that all my life, and I believe it's a mathematical equation. Not everybody's putting in extra time to figure out what can I do to be a better person, what can I do to be a better employee. So that's the first one. Oh, and then the second concept is he has a very famous saying that you can get whatever you want if you help enough other people get what they want.
Yeah.
So those are the two things from Zig Ziglar, his book, See You at the Top. The second is my mentor, Walter Bond. He's a Hall of Fame speaker, former NBA player. He's got a book called Swim. And it's about leadership and how people, how they move from a certain level of being a mentor to improving their leadership skills and then coming back and helping other people become better leaders as well. But Swim, that's my second one. And then my third one is Change the Culture, Change the Game. And it's a book about organizations taking action to effectively change the culture for their organization. So those are my three favorite books right now.
That's really great. You've been such a font of great nuggets for our audience today. From me, I just want to say, Keith, salute, thank you, and well done. Keep up the good work. I look forward to learning more from you.
Yeah, Keith, thank you so much. This is amazing how much stuff we can talk about off the top of his head, isn't it?
We could do another couple of hours listening to this fella.
So, Keith, thank you very much for your time and all of your insights and your wisdom. We do very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate you for giving me an opportunity to come on your show and share my information about leadership. I'm passionate about it. Leadership and personal development are something that I'm very, very passionate about. I believe that my personal mission is to help others reach their full potential. So together we can make a positive difference in the lives of others. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share this information with your audience. And I do have a free item for them. It's I call it the Leadership Reimagined Toolkit. And it is, I'll drop it to you after we finish the conversation. And then basically it's a kind of a summary of the things that we talked about as far as the Leadership Reimagined keynote with those 10,
fantastic,
those 10 behaviors plus a guide on creating a personal development plan. So
wonderful. So for the audience out there watching on LSTV, we'll attach this underneath in the resources section. For those of you not watching on LSTV, go over there and watch it on LSTV because it's free. In most cases, you don't even have to create an account, but if you do, it's also free. So I think, Doug, we'll wrap it up there. So as always, I've been Ant for Enterprise Alchemy.
And I'm Doug.
And thank you very much, guys. Thank you to Keith. We'll see you on the next episode.